Hey guys, this week I'm going to show you how I made a tiny NES. Those were my notes I started with, but once I saw I have these little wood squares, they just came in a pack from the dollar store, I decided to change the size a bit. So now they're about 4 centimeters by 4 centimeters, because that's what the square was. Otherwise, the proper scale would be like 1 inch by 1 1/4. But in my notes I had 1 inch by 1.5 inch for some reason. Anyway, I've made these squares. I'm going to use 2 wood and 4 2mm foam, and the gray is kind of the same color already as the NES, but I'm going to paint it. But I cut out sections in the 2 from the top, not the top I scored that so it'll open, and now I'm putting a flap on because I want to have space to put games in and out easily. So now I start gluing it together, the middle wood base and then the 2 foam that have the inserts cut out that the game's going to go in, and I glued that together, and I'm going to put the top on, and it has a nice flap, and I just scored each side a little bit so that it opens and closes nicely. Now I add the glue to the bottom. I'm just using Gorilla Super Glue, nothing special. And that's all put together, and I'm going to move on to the games. For the games, I picked 8 games, and it's 2 centimeters by 2 centimeters, and then I'm just cutting little notches out of the sides to make them better look like the NES game, and it fits in, comes out, perfect, awesome. I had planned to just make them out of foam, but then once I saw I had the wood, I was like, I want to use that because it'll make it sturdier. And now I glue together for the controllers. They're about 2 centimeters by 1 centimeter, and the pad there is in centimeters, the grid. So you can just look at that as we go to see if you want to see the size to make yourself. But I'm using Spackling now to try to fill in some of the cracks around the edges, and then I leave that for about 20 minutes and it's dry, and I'm gonna lightly sand it to make it a little smoother. And for sanding, I used a nail file. And now I'm mixing some gray. I put a drop of black primer with some white to get pretty much the same gray that the foam already was, because that's pretty much the color of the NES. And I'm just covering all my marks and stuff, and I'd drawn the lines with a pen, and it was a pointy, sharp pen, so they made impressions for the grooves on the top of the NES, and painted the controllers, but it wasn't really necessary. Now I mixed together a darker gray with some more black in the gray I was already using, because the NES is a darker gray on the bottom and I want to replicate that. And it's 6 thick, well, because so the bottom 3 are gray and the top 3 are the regular gray, lighter gray, the gray that I started with. So I didn't need to paint the games, but I'm covering them with acrylic matte varnish, and all the paints and stuff I'm using are going to be linked down below to Amazon affiliates. So if you use those, Amazon gives me $1, which is cool. And then cover everything else with the matte varnish, and I move on to this TV. I got this TV years ago. They were just little toys that Nickelodeon did. They come in the TV and it's a surprise. And I got 3 from, what's that cartoon there? Ren and Stimpy. And I picked one of those TV and I painted it. And I painted it with the gray primer, well, the white and black primer mixed together. And I left it patchy because then when I paint with the brown, that's going to give like a wood grain kind of look to it. And then I move on to just painting black, the black parts on the NES, and then the bottom of the game where the cartridge connects, I go with black and then a little bit of brown to try and recreate what that looks like underneath. and then more brown. It's burnt umber that I'm using, and I'm now going over the TV to make it brown. And then I'm gonna cut up some wires and connect them all together. Then went back with black on the TV for the dials and stuff. It has a smiley face. I'm gonna kind of downplay the smiley face a little, but I go around the edges. And unfortunately, when I put that sticker on, it didn't have it didn't go straight in the middle. Now I thought it would be cool to make a little outlet that it's gonna plug into the TV and the NES. And I have these tiny magnets that I bought off Amazon a while back. And I'm just gluing those into the wall part and then stick the other side of the magnet on, and I glued 2 little pieces of foam that I'm gonna glue the wires to. And for the wire, it's like a jewelry wire, black wire. I got it from like the craft section of the dollar store. So I glue those wires on, and I glued the connectors for the controller wires onto the other 2 wires. Now, to get the right size for the pictures I'm going to print out to put in the middle of the TV, I just etched around the edges so I got my shape. And now I'm adding a little bit of silver detail to the television set. Wow, that's a lot of words. And yeah, that's the silver. And add a little silver to the plug cover. That's going to go on the wall, and it's going to go on the wall of an apartment that I'm building for Bebop and Rocksteady, which is the point of this video, because I'm just making all the pieces before I put the actual apartment together, which will be its own video. And I have another, okay. So for the power buttons, I have the suede lace that I've used before, and it's a little thinner than the foam, so I thought it was good for the power buttons. Now I add the power cord to the bottom of the TV that's going to the plug, and then the connector to the back of the NES. So that's what it all looks like. So I have some more videos for the apartment build coming up, and also I'm going to do Mutant Apocalypse from the 2012 series, and I have Marvel vs. TMNT Phase 2. That's all going to be coming out sporadically over the next 2 or 3 months. So I hope you stay tuned. Thanks a lot for watching. Until next time, peace. Always keep your head up. Peace.